Pain changes people. If you've been through hell and back, you're not the same. Think about it. Do you feel that difference? Today, we're digging into the 9 traits of those who have suffered too much, uncovering each one as we go. But this isn't just a list. It's about understanding how life's hardest hits actually change us. You might see parts of yourself in these traits, things you couldn't quite explain or understand before. Watching this all the way through will give you a new perspective on your own journey and might even help you connect the dots on why you are the way you are. And here's why it matters. A key insight later in the video brings it all together, and it might be exactly the understanding you've been looking for. When people who were supposed to be there for you let you down, your brain starts adapting. And suddenly there's this voice saying, don't rely on anyone, you're safer on your own. So you start handling everything solo, even when it's tough and help could make a difference. It's not about pride or stubbornness, it's about protection. Research shows that people who've been hurt repeatedly often develop an avoidant attachment style. Every broken promise or letdown builds another wall, and over time, independence feels like the only safe option. Hyper-independence doesn't mean you don't want connection. You probably crave it just as much. But the risk of relying on someone else feels too high, so you stick to going it alone. It's not about being tough. It's about knowing that self-reliance is the only way you've found to keep yourself safe. But here's the hidden truth. Hyper-independence isn't strength, it's survival. It's the armor you wear, even when it keeps you from the closeness you crave. The real challenge? Learning to trust again, step by step, and discovering that sometimes letting others in can be safe too. If you've been hurt badly, your brain starts seeing letting people in as risky. So you go into closed-off mode, building walls layer by layer to protect yourself. It's like wearing armor. Not because you don't want to connect, but because you've learned that being open has its costs. Maybe someone you trusted let you down, or even used your vulnerability against you. After enough of that, your survival instincts kick in, and you start thinking, never again. And science backs this up. Trauma can make the amygdala, our brain's alarm system, go into overdrive, keeping you constantly on guard, even when there's no danger. It's your brain trying to keep you safe. But here's the twist. Closed-off mode is both a strength and a burden. It protects you from pain, but it also keeps you on the outside, looking in, even when part of you longs to connect. So how do you control something built for survival? How do you know when to lower the walls to risk vulnerability and when to keep them firmly in place? That's the challenge, I guess. Learning to trust yourself again. This isn't about being a control freak or wanting everything your way. When you've been through trauma, control becomes a way to feel safe again. Here's why. If life's thrown chaos at you before, your brain learns to watch for anything unpredictable because unpredictability used to mean danger. Control then becomes a shield, a way of creating a world where nothing blindsides you. Controlling everything feels like a way to stay one step ahead to avoid getting hurt again. But here's the flip side. Needing control all the time can be exhausting. It drains you, keeps you from taking risks, and can push people away. While control can feel safe, it can also make life feel smaller. The trick? Finding a balance, learning to loosen your grip just enough to feel secure without letting the need for the control box you in. All right, let's get into perfectionism, the kind that goes way beyond being neat or wanting things to look good. When you've been through serious hardship, perfectionism becomes a survival tool. It's this mindset of, if I can make everything perfect, maybe I won't get hurt again. For some, especially those who face trauma early in life, this becomes a way to feel safe. Perfectionism is particularly common among those who experience childhood trauma. If a child grows up with parents or caregivers who withheld love or affection, they often learn that being good enough isn't an option. They start to believe that if they can just be perfect, maybe they'll finally be accepted or loved. Psychologists call this self-oriented perfectionism, where the brain becomes intensely focused on avoiding any failure or mistake as a form of protection. So, is this perfectionism a gift? Sometimes. It can push you to accomplish incredible things. But it's also exhausting, keeping you on constant alert, always afraid that one small slip could bring everything crashing down. This type of perfectionism might shield you, but it's also a heavy weight that keeps you from ever feeling at ease. If you've been taking punches, you know what it's like to get screwed over. Maybe someone lied to you, used you, or pulled strings to manipulate you. Maybe you watched people with power skate by on things that would have wrecked you if you'd tried the same. Or maybe you got blamed for something you didn't do, gaslit into believing it was somehow your fault. Now, research shows that people who've been betrayed, abused, or mistreated develop a heightened ability to sense when things aren't right. This isn't about being right or winning an argument. For you, justice is personal. When you see someone getting taken advantage of, lied to, humiliated, ignored, it sets something off inside you. It's like an alarm blaring in your head, and there's no way you can sit back and watch. You know what it's like to be on the other side. Feeling powerless, feeling like no one's listening, and you're not about to let someone else go through that alone. But there's a trade-off. This drive for justice can be relentless. You become the person who won't stay silent when something's wrong, the one people trust to step in. But when every injustice feels personal, it takes a lot out of you. You start carrying battles that aren't even yours, and that constant weight can wear you down. So this sense of justice, it's both fuel and fire. It pushes you, gives you purpose, but it can also burn you out if you don't know when to step back. Standing up for what's right is powerful, but it only works if you can keep some of that energy for yourself. Here's the thing about empathy, not the surface level stuff everyone thinks they understand. I'm talking about your kind of empathy, the kind that goes way beyond just feeling bad for someone. You know what I mean, right? It's like their pain becomes your pain. You don't just sympathize, it's as if their struggle is happening to you, right there in your own chest. You're wired to feel things deeply. So why does empathy go this deep? When you face trauma, certain parts of your brain become extra attuned to recognizing stress or pain in others. It's as if your mind has adapted, tuning in to spot suffering to help you avoid more pain. In this way, empathy isn't just kindness. It's a survival skill your brain has developed from experience. In numerous ways, it can feel like a benefit. It allows you to connect with others in a world where so many feel misunderstood. People know you get it, and that's powerful. But it's also heavy. You're not just observing someone's pain, you're absorbing it, which can weigh you down. So empathy is also a responsibility. You have to learn to draw boundaries, or it can start costing you your own peace. When you go through something that guts you, loss, betrayal, whatever deep hurt it is, it breaks something in the way you see the world. Suddenly you're asking questions. Why did this happen? What's the point of any of this? And the stuff that used to matter. It feels empty. You start digging for something deeper. And here's the thing, this isn't just a phase. It's a real phenomenon psychologists call post-traumatic growth. Studies show that around 70% of trauma survivors go through this shift. They start looking for lessons, searching for something that makes sense, and sometimes they come out the other side with a completely new outlook on life. But here's the truth. This search isn't about easy answers. It's about finding something worth the pain. You go from being a victim of what happened to being a seeker. You start looking for something real, digging into things you might have ignored before. Spirituality, philosophy, a set of values that feel like yours. It's tough, though. Searching for meaning can feel like wandering through a dark forest with no map. Trying to make sense of things that don't come with answers is messy. And honestly, it can feel like hitting dead ends. But for those who've been through hell, this search is where they find strength. It's where they start building a life that's more than survival. It's a life that actually means something. Resilience isn't what people think. It's not some shiny compliment. Oh, you're so strong. No. If you know resilience, you know it's survival, plain and simple. It's what you rely on when there's no other choice, when life gives you zero options except to keep going. Resilience doesn't mean you're numb to pain or that you bounce back easily. It means you've been hit hard enough that your brain starts rewiring itself to handle it. But that doesn't mean it gets easy. It just means you get better at carrying the weight. It's not about going back to who you were. It's about moving forward. Every time life knocks you down, you learn how to get up just a little faster, a little stronger. Eventually, you understand that no matter how bad things get, you'll survive it. You've done it before, and you know you'll do it again. Here's where it gets complicated. Resilience means you feel every hit, every heartbreak. You just learn how to carry it anyway. It's not about being unbreakable. It's about refusing to stay broken, no matter how many times life tries. For people who've been through serious stuff, humor isn't just relief. It's a lifeline. It's what gets you through. If you can laugh in the face of adversity, you're bulletproof. Humor here isn't about ignoring reality. It's about grabbing it by the throat and taking control. Laughing strips away some of its power. It's saying, you don't own me. I'll get the last laugh. You're not just surviving, you're making the pain work for you. For people with this kind of humor, it's armor. It lets you talk about the heavy stuff without getting sucked into it. Lets you connect with others without dragging them into your darkness. Humor in dark times, it's more than just coping. It's resilience with a bite. People who laugh through life's worst don't escape the pain. They reshape it, turn it into something they can carry. Pain doesn't get the last word. They do. When you've been through real pain, it's like your vision changes. Everyday things look different. That morning coffee, it's no longer just a caffeine hit. It's a small ritual, something solid to hold on to when the world feels like it's slipping. You notice the warmth, the weight, the quiet peace of that moment in ways others might miss. But the tough part is, this new lens doesn't just show you the beauty, it also shows you the shadows. Where others see an open door, you see all the ways it could slam shut. You look at what's ahead, and instead of a smooth road, you see every crack in the pavement. Your mind is wired now to brace for impact, like the ground could drop out from under you at any second. So yeah, this lens makes you appreciate life's little moments more than most. But it's heavy. It means you're hyper-aware of how fast things can change, how quickly they can be taken away. It's both a gift and a burden. It lets you feel those small moments deeply, but it also keeps reminding you of life's fragility, of how nothing is ever really certain. This new lens, it shows you both the beauty and the cracks in everything around you, and that changes the way you move through the world.